I'm laughing. That song, I thought it had a couple more beats. It ended suddenly. Hi, y'all. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your facilitator this evening as we set up for a brand new week. We are so glad you are joining us. Bailey is my co pilot tonight. So she'll be hanging out in the chat and she's popping on to give y'all a wave. So, hello from Bailey. And we Bailey and I, we always the facilitators always log on early and we go through everything to make sure like all the tech is working and the Zoom and the music and we did all of that. And then right before we got ready to hit go, Bailey's internet went kaput. So we had to so thank you for your patience as we sort of reset ourselves and got going. It is really good to see you. Set your chat to everyone because that is how we share with one another. I see lots of Sonder fam who this is what we do, right? At this Sunday evening time. I have been doing a lot of Monday mornings, so I haven't been with you in a Sunday for a while, for a month of Sundays. So glad to be here this evening working with Bailey. And someone said it's Ogilvy Grady time. And I thought, oh, our last initials, G and O, go time. So we're glad you're here. And it's okay if you haven't been here in a while because, if you use your journal one time in the month and maybe work a journal prompt page and learn something more about yourself, it was worth that time, right? But we do have this time carved out for you to set your journal up. You may already have your cadence, you know what you're going to do, but you've kept this accountability appointment. But you also could be brand new. And if you are brand new and you feel like letting us welcome you, drop a me in the chat. This is a cameras off, mics off event. So you are always invited, come as you are. And you can be feeling great and join us, or you can be having a crummy day and you just come and hang out, right? To get to be with your Sonder community. So CR says, me, I'm a new person. Oh, Courtney, I'm going to talk about highfalutin. First off, I will say, I'll talk about that in a minute. It was so good. So yeah, make sure your chat is set to everyone. And today's daily affirmation is I choose ease and clarity each day. So hopefully you've written that down in your journal somewhere. I posted this up from my screenshot. I took a screenshot and I just wanted to I know that there are some of us who don't like to see a streak broken. So my hint is you see my streak says 0 days. I don't affirm it. I affirm it by writing it in my journal. And that way I don't set myself up to break a streak. Because sometimes that happens. So if that works for you, feel free to adopt that mindset. Because that's that breaking up with perfection that I deal with. So I thought I'd shout out how I do the daily affirmations in my journal. And yes, Tanya was there for our highfalutin time. Tanya, I've got our pictures ready to share. So there's our community guidelines that we use whenever we are together. So if you are part of the Sonder community, if you use the Sonder Club, you've seen these, but we do like to put them up again as a reminder that you are in a safe place, right? We create safe spaces for ourselves, but for each other. And then we can point you to extra help that you need beyond our social time together. But Bailey and I, are not internal headquarters, so we'll just kind of figure out where to point you for that. Of course, we're starting to go through that mid-month, right? We're going to be wrapping up simplicity. I've kept this quote for my setups this month. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. And I always say I'm not a minimalist, right? But do I have things in my life that are unnecessary? Yes. And I have physical things that are unnecessary. I also have some spiritual, mental, incremental things that are unnecessary. And so I really want to I've embraced simplicity through that lens of what is unnecessary in my life. So I wanted to share that with you. We will be working on week 3 of our simplicity mind map. We're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we're going to do our weekly setup pages with lots of examples from our Sonder community. And again, you may know exactly what you're going to do with your journal, and that's great. Maybe you'll see something that you'll just want to capture, and that'll be kind of a pro tip. If you see something that speaks to you, grab a screenshot or take a photo, because you may not be using it now, but it may be something like, I'm going to consider that in a couple of weeks. I know what I've got coming up, and this might be something that works for me. That's why we have these times to share information. So can I put that quote back on? Sure, real quick. You want to grab a screenshot of that? Will that work, Courtney? Can you grab that? It's also the quote I've kept for the whole month. So you can go back and look at some weekly setups too, because it really spoke to me, right? I always think simplicity, minimalism, and I'm not a minimalist. I like my stuff, and I kind of like my clutter, and because it's mine. So let's work on the 3rd week of the mind map. Now, if you are here for the first time, the mind map is a deeper dig that we do into our theme for the month. And it is a bonus prompt that you get each time you come to a weekly setup. It's not found in your journal. So you can do this anywhere you want. Yeah, Lisa, yes, clutter is cozy to me too. So there's some tips, find a blank page in your journal. I'm going to shout out to my co-facilitator, Bailey. She suggested, just go to the last page. That's where I put it because it's easy to find. So I started doing that because I can flip right to it. Maybe you go from week to week and do it on that weekly scratch pad. So anywhere that the space feels right for you. There's our 3 weeks of mind map. The first week was, what do we have physically, the physical stuff in our life that we no longer need, that don't serve a purpose. And I've been kind of working on a decluttering challenge for the month. Last week was a look at those commitments or activities that fill our plate that maybe drain us and don't bring us the good stuff. And maybe there's a space or a way to get some of that off of our plate. And this week, we're asking, where do you feel that sense of overwhelm, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or physically? And what small step could bring more simplicity? So here's where I went with this. So I've got a couple of quotes here. I love this quote. Maybe the journey isn't about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really you so that you can be who you were meant to be in the first place. And I've reflected, I shared with y'all a couple weeks ago, I belong to Philanthropic Educational Organization, which is a woman's educational philanthropy that gives low interest loans, grants, and scholarships to women only, and that passion for women's education. My local chapter is kind of smallish, but I am president of it, and I'm starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed because I went to the state conference and we were issued our charges from the state president, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to get it all done, right? And I use that for my reflection, but I got a couple other ideas for you. And so for me, receiving those challenges, one simple thing I can do that I'm terrible at is asking for help. We have people in the chapter who have done this role before, and I know they're going to help step up and do that. I just need to ask. I love to be a helper. I'm not so good about taking help and asking for help. So that's kind of the way I took that reflection, is that my one thing is to ask for help as I'm looking at an area where I feel that sense of overwhelm. Now, here's some ideas for some de-stressing of your life. So maybe some of these um Oh, Sarah received a loan from PEO. Oh my gosh, Sarah, I love that. And it's low interest, right? It doesn't strap you forever with these crazy interest rates. Thank you for posting that. That really affirms, that's very affirming to me. Thank you for shouting that out and congratulations. So perhaps you need to distress your routine. And so there's some ways. Maybe you need to examine the things that give you energy versus the things that take or zap your energy. And I'm going to go back through these slides while you're working on this. So don't worry if you don't grab that. And then there's always those 7 types of rest where we look at maybe one area that we need to incorporate a little bit better rest. And so there's kind of that idea of what that could look like. And I'm going to suggest again that one simple step. So maybe focus on one area. If something jumps out at you, like, yeah, I need some creative rest. I'm not doing the things that help me find my flow. And then I want you to take this one more step. Consider adding your step to this week's habit and activity tracker there on the bottom of our page for our weekly setup so that you're holding yourself truly accountable to that mind map work. Let me put on a bit of music. I'll go back through those slides while you're working on that. And you guys are kind of already sharing some of the stuff that's coming up for you, but if you're comfortable, please do that. All right, I know that was a quick couple of moments there, but think about, what you can do this week to really just, kind of have a little smidge of simplicity that's not already there in your life. And I hope that you were able to put it in your habit and activity tracker, or you're considering how you're going to hold yourself accountable for that. So, now I want to invite you to page 44 so that we can look back over this past week at our roses and our buds and our thorns. And this is definitely a celebration of gratitude, even for the thorns, because there's lessons that can be learned from our thorns. And so I'm going to ask you to kind of frame those thorns out. Like, what is the takeaway from this? The thorns are those challenging or stressful moments or things that didn't go well, things that you don't have control over. Those are never fun. For me, the hot days are here in summer. Now, I know people love the hot, and I do love summer. I prefer summer over being freezing cold. But my tomatoes are setting their blooms, and it is too early for 100-degree days in Texas. So I'm getting a little stressed about that. So I'm kind of like, oh, that's been sort of a thorn. But my takeaway is I'm just going to embrace and see what nature brings us. My bud is yesterday, it was the Dallas Fort Worth Sonder family meetup, but that happened today. So I'm now looking forward. The thing I'm looking forward to that I'm planning for is our family trip to Florida with the grandkids. And I always say it's not really a vacation. Family trips are different from vacations. And I think, if you travel with family, you know what I'm saying. But I can't wait to play at the beach with my kids, my grandkids. But what are you looking forward to? What is something that makes you smile, or what's motivating you? It could be that we're just in a brand new week, right? That the new week is coming. And then my rose, let me tell you, was our Dallas Fort Worth Sonder Club meetup today at Pie. And I did have some folks that were coming, but they had a long distance to drive, and the weather is sort of shaky up here. We've got some big thunder boomers happening right now. So they were a little afraid to hit the road. But those of us who gathered, we shared, we talked about our journals, we talked about things that were tricky for us to do, and how do we set this up. And y'all, if you ever do have an opportunity to meet up, even if you spur that on for your community, it was good. It was good for my soul. And so I, highly, highly suggest. We had a supply swap, and then we completed a summer self-care bingo together. So as we work through that bingo during the summer months, we're going to think about each other. So it was pretty good. But I wanted to share pictures just so you could see faces of our Sonder family. I'm going to put on music while you work on your rosebud thorns. Please share in the chat. Let us support you. Look at those thorns and find out what is your learning from that. And yeah, share in the chat as you're comfortable. Feel free to continue to work on this section. I want to make sure that we have lots of time for our complete setup. Thank you for those of you who shared in the chat. Sometimes some of the thorns you shared, they're just there. They don't go away. And so we really do hold like space for y'all for those things that are just there and you share. Thank you for letting us kind of just be there cheering you on. And also, thanks y'all for, letting us celebrate your roses and those buds and those good things that are coming back. And sometimes one thing can be all three. I shared a few weeks ago, my husband had his second knee replacement. So he's got two new knees now. And I said that week, that was the rose and that was the bud and that was the thorn, all three. So anyway, thank you for sharing. Let's go ahead and move forward into our weekly setup. I do want to encourage you, if you're comfortable, to share your pages or share a section. If you do a repurpose or you use it in a different way, because we love seeing that in Sonder Club. It inspires others who maybe can't make a social. But we're going to turn to page 46 and 47. And I love these, I love a good graphic. And I love this one that says, this week I promise to stop doubting myself and trust my potential. Spend time each day to take care of myself. So what does that look like? Even just small moments. Do one thing that scares me but helps me grow, and then learn to appreciate the little unnoticeable blessings. And that's great for our idea of how do we embrace simplicity. So I always share this. This is the many different ways people use these spaces in their journal. I right now am using my shopping list for my garden tracker because that's high season for me. But it will be something different, once garden season's over. But maybe there's something here that will speak to you that you've never considered before. Perhaps, you're a podcast person and you're wanting to start, incorporating those on a regular basis. And what does that look like? And so perhaps that is something you could put in there, a hooray list. Really, it's about doing what meets your needs. So here's a couple of great examples from Sonder family that have shown up recently in Sonder Club. I wanted to put these in here and share with you. You notice the one on the left isn't even going to do the habit and activity tracker for the week. Didn't speak to them this week. They just, cut out some imagery that reminds them of simplicity and posted that on there. Going to, I love the idea of the person on the right says they want to feel prepared, be prepared this week. And then that's kind of what guided their goals. I am prepared for, and then wrote healthy meals, kids at home, the summer schedule, right? And then theater performance. And so, framing that around the idea of being prepared, the weekly to-dos. It's a list for the one on the right. It's a fun little bingo board for the one on the left. I was sharing today at our in real life meetup. I love a bingo board. It's very motivating for me. I get that good serotonin, endorphin stuff when I get to mark them off. So if that's something that drives you, that's a good thing to do. Now, we like to start off by thinking about how we want to feel during the week. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's that list. But I wanted to share this graphic with you because I thought it was pretty good. Like, do a check-in right now. How are you feeling? Like, come with that, come here with that check-in with self. And then you can consider, how are my feelings impacting me? And then how am I going to deal with that? Like really leaning into that consideration, and then think about your values and what is a values aligned step that you could take. So I wanted to bring to our attention the feelings wheel that we see a lot at our monthly setups when we're doing our mood trackers. And perhaps if you're having some feelings of fear or anger or sadness, any of those feelings that fall into that, maybe just kind of slide across and see if you can find a feeling to counter maybe a feeling of anger, one of those exasperated feeling, and maybe slide down to joy and see if there is a feeling that you could embrace to counter that's, if you've self-checked. Or maybe there's some feelings of fear over something and you're feeling nervous. Could you go into the surprise category and embrace a way to turn that fear into something that's maybe a little more fun, or maybe look at that wheel slice of love and find a word that will help you check, maybe kind of balance out that kind of get that mindset shift. So if you know how you want to feel, drop that in the chat, because maybe your word is going to inspire someone else. For me, I've written calm and mindful. I have a mom visit this week. I'm going to go take my mom to a doctor, and I tend to get a little anxious just because of the choices that she makes. So I want to be calm and mindful and just embrace that time. Even keeled, I could use those words: productive, accomplished and calm, relaxed and rested, energized, optimistic, busy but happy. Yeah, I love the CEO of my life. Yeah, that one's so good, right? Focused, energized. So maybe some of those words are speaking to you. And we want to now take that word or those words or that phrase and put that into what our goals for the week are going to look like. And remember, if the plan's not working, change the plan, not the goal. So if you've got some goals and you're feeling like, oh, maybe some steps need to be changed. And I always say, how will your goals this week support that feeling? What is your why? The example in the middle and on the left, look at that daily check-in, right? That intentionality of using your journal and checking in with yourself to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable for that. I'm going to go back and forth through these slides while you work on this page. So no worries. If you feel like it's going a little fast, you'll see these again. Grab a screenshot. I kind of love this one on the left. What movie and show am I going to watch? And what's the book I'm going to read? And what is that creative project I want to do? I kind of like that in the mindset of that self-care. Lots of folks like to take those three goals and plug them into categories like, what am I going to let go of? What am I going to leap into? What am I going to learn? Or self, home, and work. You can also repurpose this space. So if the goals are not really speaking to you right now, it's okay to just like put in a quote. Maybe do, several things that are going to feed your soul this week. Maybe you put some new recipes here. Perhaps you go look at your intentions. Have you peeked at that page since you set it up at a couple of weeks ago? How are you doing? Could your intention work? Pop into your goals for the week. Look at the one over there on the right. Instead of three major goals, they've changed it to the values that they're going to embrace this week. Perhaps that's something that's speaking to you. And then you can have one goal for the week, or you can have more than that. Like the example you see there, they've got a little plus down at the bottom. I couple of weeks ago, put the Easter down, get the summer up, those fun decorations in your house. And if you share something, if you do something different for your goal space, share that, drop that in the chat right now. So because again, you might inspire someone. But then once we have our goals, we can maybe look at our to-dos, and maybe those to-dos directly support the goals that you're going to have, or maybe they're just your standalone to-do list. There's no right or wrong way. It's really what works for you. I always love this quote. It shows up every now and then. Sometimes I'll do something and then go write it on my to-do list and then mark it off just so I can give myself credit. That's also like a to-do list, right? Celebrating the things that you do. Now, this is a great example of, taking those feelings, creating your goals for the week. But look, this person has one goal, and that is to unplug. They've given themselves a menu of ways to unplug. So it's right there. You don't have to stop and think. It's right there. You choose one, right? And they are tracking that accountability portion through their habits and activities. So every day they're doing that check-in and all correct, Chris. This person's handwriting is amazing. It's just very peaceful, right? But I love using that habit and activity tracker for that accountability. This tracker on the weekly part is so good changing things up each week and holding yourself accountable for the week you're going to have. Here's a couple of examples of taking those goals and informing your to-do list or your to-be list, as you see in the upper one, or your weekly no's. What are you putting in place to have boundaries to support those goals for the week so you can change those to-dos up? My to-do list is always on my weekly spread, and then I do a to-do list in the weekly to-dos just so that I can, give myself credit for what I got done. A reminder about making a to-do list, make sure that it's concrete. Um, do make sure you're assigning a priority so that you spend the time that you need to on the important stuff. I'm really good about doing the easy stuff and not the important stuff. Put time in your schedule. Make sure that you are, figuring out a time for it to happen so that it actually does. Group those tasks together if you can. So, maybe it's your home and your office list. There's a couple of examples there of how their to-do list is grouped up. And be realistic, like set yourself up for success. Don't overdo it because sometimes we set ourselves up for too much. And then, cross off as you do it, and then you start your new list. Here's a couple of great tools for to-do list. We talk about that Eisenhower matrix where you just take your to-dos and you plug them in. And of course, box 1 is the first thing you need to concentrate on. Box 4 can kind of wait. So that's a good framework to use, as well as the Pomodoro technique. But really, the Pomodoro technique is a lovely time boxing technique. So it's like setting that timer, and I'm working on this decluttering list, and I work so much better if I just say, okay, Jennifer, set your timer for 15 minutes and go, go, go on the right side of your closet, right? Breaking it down. There's something about that time limit thing that goes off that just works for me. I like working under that time crunch. I'm a procrastinator, and so I just seem to be more efficient when it comes. So there's a couple of suggestions for that. And this is a method that came from the Toyota factory, and it's Kanban, and it's kind of having this movable list. So maybe you take little post-it notes and you create a Kanban, and it helps you see what there is to do, what is actually in progress, and what is done. And I could imagine this in a family, situation with a little thing on the fridge. So, like, this is the family's jobs that need to happen. And as things happen, the post-it notes get moved back and forth. So again, just another little tidbit of maybe working on those to-dos. There's some more examples of what you all are doing. I love the idea of a now list and a later list, like the upper left, school and personal, maybe your morning and evening, perhaps a to don't list. And then the one in the upper right, here's what I do every week, and then here's what's special about this week. So breaking that down, that helps make those good decisions. All about that self-accountability habit and activity tracker. Y'all are putting some great stuff in the chat, so be sure you're checking that chat out. The micro habits, those are those tiny things you do that can have big results if you do them. So maybe you plug some of these into your habit and activity tracker. James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits, talks about if you have new habits, first you got to show up, right? You got to do it. The new habit should take less than 2 minutes. again, referring back to set yourself up for success. Don't bite off more than you can chew. So he always suggests starting with the gateway habit. And that's where I say, I'm going to declutter this room. That's not the right approach for me. I need to say, I'm going to declutter 3 dresser drawers. So he says, start with that gateway habit. So walk 10,000 steps means put on your running shoes. Become a better partner means I'm going to make his cup of coffee or her cup of coffee each morning. Keep the house tidy means goes to down to put one item of laundry right away. So it's breaking it down in those little micro steps. And you could even write it out. After I do X, which is a current habit, pair the new habit with that. After I do X, I will blank. And I've been working on my balance because I'm of the age that balance is super important. And so now, while I brush my teeth, I will stand on one foot because I'm forgetting to incorporate that in. I don't really like to exercise. I do yoga, but I'm really trying to embrace that daily balance. So that's what I do. I look like a dork, but I'm balancing and brushing. Um, think about maybe what you're going to cut out this month. There's that graphic that we're seeing again. And then in these habits and activities, Kimberly L did this one week and I grabbed a screenshot of it because I love it. So she has her habits activities, but then Kimberly, there it is. Um, and then there's little rewards. And I love one of the rewards that really spoke to me was the 1 hour of mindless scrolling because I love to get lost in the social stuff, but this is how you put that boundary on that. So yeah, a rewards girl, I feel you. So I wanted to share that with you. I thought that was a really great way to frame out those habits and activities. You can circle days you need specific things to happen as you create maybe those to-do lists. Maybe some of your to-dos are in that habit and activity tracker. Here's some more ideas for doing that. Perhaps you don't need the habit and activity tracker and you just take a week off. Give yourself permission to do that. And I love that veggies and fruit. Just I want to track what I'm eating, so I'm going to track those colors of the week, which I think is a lot of fun for embracing your nutritional needs. Just that tracker is dedicated to that. And then there's some fun habit tracker ideas in case you're looking for something new to add. So I've shown you a lot of information. Let me put on some music while we work on this page. I'll scroll back through the slides. If you saw something that you liked and you want to capture that in a screenshot or take a picture, then do that. And then share kind of what you're doing. Are you ignoring some stuff? Are you doing 3 goals? Are you doing 1 goal? Let us know what's happening in your world this week. Good stuff in the chat. Y'all always have the best encouragement for one another. But also, I love how y'all are taking a look at like the week you had this week, and kind of looking at next week and thinking, it didn't go like I thought. I'm just going to move stuff over. You're giving yourself that grace. Our journals just contain data about our life, right? It's neutral. It's okay if stuff didn't happen. I always say that the unchecked things, the undone things are also part of our story, right? And so while it doesn't look like anything happened, it means that something else did, right? So we're getting that feedback on our life. So I love that you're like, I just don't have the energy to come up with something new. It's all going over into the next week. Good for you. That's what you need right now. And so give yourself permission to do that. Yeah, Kimberly said she's gonna, try to lean into fun this week because she's got like after birthday blues. And I was saying I had seen a little graphic that says it turns out you can buy and eat a birthday cake anytime. It doesn't have to be your birthday. So, how do you put some fun things into your life? Maybe we go and do a birthday cake. Some of you said that you've already set up, but you kind of came here to do some tweaks and you're getting some new inspiration. That's great. I love that because you never know what might work on another week. And you're kind of thinking about your pages. And I love changing things up every now and then is good for our brains, doing something a little different. So I like that you're considering how you can do that. So now we're going to go to the flip side of the record, side B, the second page. And again, I'll go through lots of examples for y'all and put on some music, and then we'll finish up our time together. I'm going to encourage you to hang out for our ending tonight because we're actually going to work on the I am loving box together as we exit. So if you can hang, we would love that. Here's two beautiful examples of our pages for the second page. I really enjoyed looking at how the meal plan on the one on the left is all about preparing your mind, strategy, body, skills, like just touching on all these different areas of life. So you're totally invited to use that meal plan as your meal planner or your meal tracker, but it's also a great way, a great space to try something new there. You can see the one on the right is going to use that for their affirmations for the week. I love the one on the right. How am I going to fill my cup? And there's four things, right? To sort of embrace being intentional. There's a lot of power in writing that down. We've got a quote in the shopping list on the left. We've got a bingo board. There's always a bingo board on mine. But this person's going to do a bingo board and look at those beautiful things. Just a lot of good self-care. Walk outside is there several times. So that accountability to get up and go move. I love, love, love that. So the meal plan, there is what it looks like. A couple of examples if you're using it for nutritional things in your life. But again, I'm going to show you lots of repurposing ideas. And I know like everything I'm going to show you for page 2 could be put in any of the spaces, right? So some folks will actually put like their main meal of the day over in the shopping list, and then they use their meal plan for something else. So all of this can kind of um, you know, go. Now, I love to talk about these water droplets because if you're not using them, that's okay. Maybe you're not tracking hydration. You just empty your big, Stanley or whatever, and you got your water. But I like pointing out that there are 8 water droplets here. And so maybe this could be an check in with self on the hour, right? Maybe go look at that mood tracker. Are you trying to look for a certain mood? So that 8 dots is a great check-in point throughout the day. I love the one all the way over there on the right. It's just kind of that, what was my energy level today? And so you can see, on that Monday, it was a 6. But on Tuesday, the energy level was down to a 3. So just some repurposing for those water droplets. The one that says, when I fill my cup, maybe that's literal, maybe that's figurative, right? So consider using those. I don't often use my water droplets, so I like having an idea of doing that. Again, some repurposed meal plans here this week. Little response there. A meal plan for my soul. I love the way that sounds. The meal plan for my soul. Some weekly reflections. There's that prepare yourself, the mind strategy. There's that one again. Um, I love this one. I think, Kimberly, this might be yours also because of the fun markers. But what I wanted to point out here was the idea of that habit stacking and these chores. So call mom on speaker to chat while you mop the floor, right? Like being intentional with those things, those tasks that you need to do. Make a fun 5 or 6 song playlist, listen to that fun music and clean for that. That's your time block that you've created within those music. So just some fun ideas for chores. So I love that. I know, Kimberly, you're a reward girl. Again, it's there because it spoke to me. Perhaps you need a little challenge for happiness for the week. So there's some fun ideas there. I'm going to show you several examples of the mind body health plan. The one in the bottom left, it's like there was this menu. And then every day as things happened, you can yep, I was mindful today. I was mindful on Tuesday and I did a mindfulness activity on Thursday. So that's kind of fun, a fun way to embrace, again, some simplicity and some self-care for the week. The one over there on the right, all those W words, walk, water, watch, wait, love that. I always use this as kind of my selfish space. I say your self-care plan, whatever that means for you. So that's what I love about that. You could use it as a little mini prompt, some self-care ideas. The get off my butt always makes it on these slides sometimes because I just think that's so funny because maybe that's the one reminder you need. Shopping list, we're going to look at that. We love that space because it's a grid and it's easy to make like these bingo boards or these dual list. It's just really, so there's some example I was sharing. There's my time in the garden. That's my tracker for my tasks for the week. And then another one of mine is that good night rhythm and routine. A lot of times I have to shore up my rhythms because I don't have them built in like I used to when I was working full time. So there's that. Maybe it's just a doodle space and you're embracing that, that creativity that is so important for us to do. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put on music. I'm going to go back through all of these slides. Let us know if you repurpose any of these spaces or if you're going to try something new this week because what you're doing really can inspire someone else. And then we'll finish up. I just want to applaud you for like carving out this time so that you can set yourself up for, the best week of simplicity. Just a quick shout out. Many of you have talked about using your lifestylist, your personalized coach, and how that has affected your life. Always feel free to share that in Sonder Club. I think those stories are so beautiful. But if you have any questions, concierge at silkandsonder.com. And there are actually a couple of neat videos that Meha has done around the personal coaching. And whether you use that or not, the video content is so good. And Bailey's going to start dropping all those links in to the chat. There is our playlist from this evening, and I'm going to leave us with a song. I'll put that back on, but I want to know, thinking about your week, what right now is there a product, a book, a movie, a podcast? What are you loving right now? Drop that in the chat because we might want to go get some of what you got. And I just think that makes it kind of fun to know like this is good. Put that in the chat and we'll say goodbye and wish you a wonderful week.